Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This episode has been brought to you by the Wine to Wine Business Forum 2022. This year will mark the 9th edition of the forum to be held on November 7th and 8th of 2022 in Verona, Italy. This year will be an exclusively in-person edition. The main theme of the event will be all-round wine communication. Tickets are on sale now, so for more information, please visit us at winetowine.net.
Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel to Emilia-Romagna to visit Tenuta Venturini Baldini, where my guest today, Julia Prestia, together with her husband Giuseppe, produce a range of typical vini spumanti, wines that pair wonderfully well with the foods of Reggio Emilia and Parma. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Julia. How are you? And is it a beautiful day where you are?
Thank you, Marc, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. I'm very well today. Thank you. And it's a really nice autumn day. We are having this, the Indian summer coloring in the estate. So it's not too warm, but it's just right. It just feels like a really nice autumn day.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about where the Tenuta Venturini Baldini is exactly, what the landscape it's like, and, really give our listeners a picture of where you are in Emilia?
Sure, it's my pleasure. So the estate is just between Parma and Reggio Emilia, almost same distance between the two cities, on the first foothills of the Apennine. So if you want to imagine it, it's almost like being in Tuscany, because this is the Apennine that goes all the way down from the north to the south of Tuscany, the Appennino Tosco-Emiliano. You come into the estate and you have this cypress tree-lined roads that go up a few hills. So the estate stretches about 130 hectares. That's, I think, something around 300 acres, just a bit more, on various hills. So we go up to about 400 meters in terms of altitude.
Okay, so it sounds really beautiful. I'm imagining that cypress-lined entrance to the estate with the mountains behind, and of course vineyards all around. Tell us a little bit about the story of Tenuta Venturini Baldini. It's a historic property, isn't it? And you're in a very historic area.
Yes, it is really one of the historic estates in Emilia. It's quite unique, actually, for that, because it used to be, for centuries, it used to be a private residence of, some of the noble families in the area. Then lately, the family of the Marchese Manodori, who used to be the governors of Reggio Emilia. So for a long time, it was just a private residence, like a hunting lodge, if you want. And then in the 70s, Venturini Baldini, husband and wife, they set about to create an agricultural estate that I think was really quite visionary and innovative at the time. We're talking 70s. So 70s in Italy, they started out to create an organic estate. So it's always been organic, got certification. That's really very early at the time. They started out with a premium version of Lambrusco, so high quality sparkling wines of indigenous grapes from our area. So obviously also Lambrusco wines, and that was quite revolutionary, I think, at the time. And they kept the estate also an integral estate, so it was never sort of split up in various parcels. So it is really a very unique property, and like you said, rightfully, it is a very historic part of our region. It's the Terre di Canossa. So it's, where Matilde di Canossa, one of those really formidable women almost 1,000 years ago, very powerful woman. And she ruled a vast empire. And I think I would have loved to meet her actually. She must have been a very interesting person. And those were that was her area. Yeah, that was her Terra di Canossa.
So Canossa is near where you are.
Canossa is about a 2-hour walk. If you want to hike from our estate, you can walk to Canossa. And where we are is our comune is called Quattro Castella, so the 4 castles. And those 4 castles they sort of formed her frontier, I believe. So her defense line. And we have on the estate, we have also the oldest acetaia from Reggio Emilia. So it's where the balsamic vinegar comes from. And that's all really connected to her history and to this territory. So it's a really fascinating, interesting terroir that we have there.
Absolutely fascinating story, Julia. Now tell us how you and your husband came to be on the estate. A little bit about your background, because you weren't originally in the world of wine.
Yeah, that's right. I was actually, I come from a completely different part of the world in terms of business. I used to be in finance, but my focus was often related to food investments, food companies. So there was a strong connection, and being in the middle of the food valley, because that's also really important to remember in Emilia. This is the food valley of Italy. This is where so much of the produce that we know comes from. And so my husband and I, we both, work in that area, invest in food companies. My husband also produces wine in Sicily. He's from Sicily. And so we spend a lot of time in Emilia. And then I think it's a bit of a combination of, you're looking for it. You're not sure if you're looking for it. You don't know if you're looking for it. And then we found each other, I think. So it was a bit of a coincidence. It was a bit of looking for it, I think. And Venturini Baldini, they were coming, of age for someone to take over their estate. And so it's really a bit of a succession, story where we try to continue their work. But obviously with a lot of changes from our side as well.
Okay, and what year was that you took over, Julia?
2015.
2015, so not that long ago then. What an exciting project for you.
Yes, it is actually. And you're right, it's not that long ago, but I feel like we have, it's been very busy, let's put it this way. So we've...
I imagine so. Now, it's interesting that you are saying that the estate, we're really pioneers in producing quality Lambrusco. Lambrusco, I suppose, in the 60s, going back a little earlier, was one of the great success stories for industrially produced wines in vast quantity. But this is going in the other direction, farming organically and making quality Lambrusco, which I think when you're in Emilia is such a special wine, again, to go with the products of this wonderful food valley. Tell us a little bit about Lambrusco and the Lambruschi that you produce, because not everybody's aware of the very different varieties of the Lambrusco grape that make wonderful wines.
Yeah, that's actually a really important point that you're making there. Lambrusco is really a spectrum. There's so much, there's not one Lambrusco. So it's really, there's a whole variety of grapes in that grape family, colors, expressions, production methods. So it's really, there are lots of different versions of Lambrusco out there. And yes, Lambrusco is having a huge comeback, and it's beautiful for me to see. And that's really the work, that that Venturini and Baldini started, but also that we have been pursuing very actively in the last years to bring back Lambrusco, in the important wine lists, really introducing it as a serious wine to people who probably haven't even tried it, because it really, after that success in the 60s, 70s, which was a very industrialized mass produce, which still exists to some extent, but in the last 10, 15 years, so like family estates like ours, they've really been working towards that comeback of Lambrusco. So you obviously, we love the characteristics of Lambrusco. It is such a beautiful social wine, accessible. it's not meant to be a complicated, difficult wine. It is, a very, I find a very social and accessible wine. And it pairs wonderfully with so many things, not just the Italian kitchen, but increasingly Asian cuisine is finding how the pairing really is nicely offsetting some of their dishes, a barbecue as well, or a steak. So it's a really versatile wine. And I think it's important to, show that not without losing those characteristics, it can be a serious wine.
Absolutely. And you're right about, I think, one of its best qualities. It's such a convivial wine. It's a wine that makes you want to drink it. And not just one glass, but 2 glasses, 3 glasses, with friends, with family.
Absolutely. And that's really what is so beautiful about it. It's a social setting. It's being together with friends and family. And I think that's also to a large extent, the appeal that it has to people. It is, it's just a very convivial situation, and you don't need to spend a fortune either on a wine that, is a very serious, good quality wine and that everyone enjoys.
Are you enjoying this podcast? There is so much more high-quality wine content available from Mama Jumbo Shrimp. Check out our new wine study maps or books on Italian wine, including Italian Wine Unplugged and much, much more. Just visit our website, mamajumboshrimp.com. Now, back to the show.
Yes, absolutely. Now, maybe part of that conviviality comes from the bubbles, because Emilia, as separate from Romagna, is really a land where people love wine with bubbles, bollicine, whether from the Martinotti method or the classical method of secondary fermentation in the bottle. You produce both styles of wine. Is producing sparkling wines really something that you love to do? And tell us a little bit about the difference between the Martinotti and the Metodo Classico wines.
Yes, no, but you're absolutely right. It's Emilia is definitely known for its sparkling wines. That goes back to also Lambrusco lending itself to a sparkling expression, and we have all the production methods available. And even though I think the Martinotti method is really perfect for Lambrusco, and it's a wonderful way of making the Lambrusco what it's supposed to be. A lot of estates, including us, have been for many years have been using also the other production methods. So, for example, the Champagne method or Metodo Classico method. And the difference really is that as you know, Champagne is fermented in the bottle, so it's a bottle fermentation, while the Metodo Martinotti or Chamat, so those two names, effectively the same style, is in a tank. So it's in what we call in Italian an autoclave. So that is fundamentally the difference. The Champagne method tends to be also longer. So the fermentation in the bottle, for example, we have wines that are typically 30 months and even longer, up to 60 months fermented in the bottle, while the Martinotti method can be quite short in some instances. At Venturini Baldini, we use a longer fermentation time that goes from 3-4 months to up to 6 months in the tank, in the steel tank.
Okay, very slow fermentation at low temperature, I imagine, maintaining the freshness and that beautiful fruit of the Lambrusco then.
Absolutely, you're very knowledgeable about it.
Well, I love Lambrusco, and I think it's a wine that I want people to love, because, especially when one is in Emilia and there's this wonderful food traditions that go so well, the salumi. Well, tell us a little bit about some of these food traditions in your food valley and why they pair so well with your wines.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting part of food pairing that often the wines and the food in each of the Italian regions really do have a symbiosis in a way. They really match or offset each other. It's quite interesting. And I think that's definitely the case in Emilia. If you think, first of all, the food valley is really the source of so many things that around the world people use in their daily cuisine. So think of the Parmesan balsamic vinegar, the Parma ham. There's really there's really an unbelievably big variety of food coming from our area. And the dishes, that of course you can have all the traditional dishes like a lasagna or the tagliatelle al ragu or bolognese, often I think it's called abroad. So rich meat pasta is a perfect pairing, obviously, with our Lambruscos, as also like a lot of the meat dishes in general, because it's a nice way of setting slightly fattier food. So it's a really nice, refreshing wine. It's not too heavy. And that I think is that the essence of that pairing. That's also why some of the Asian cuisines work really well. You have a fatty fish, for example, is an amazing dish to be offset with a Lambrusco. So it's that contrast that works really well.
Oh, that's fascinating. Of course, that's the high acidity that the Lambrusco grape has. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And the Lambrusco grapes, like we said, there are so many different ones. And that's also the fun part. You can experiment a little bit and see what you like and what works best with each of the individual dishes.
Yeah. Yeah, and different colors, from the deep red of the Gasparosso to the pale Lambrusco di Sorbara, almost a rosato. So that's fascinating. I'm really interested in the point you're making is that Lambrusco really is a wine to go with a lot of different cuisines, not just the local cuisine. I'm thinking that perhaps it would be a very good sushi wine then, with the fish, off fish.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, for example, you just mentioned the Sorbara, which is a fascinating grape and it has a beautiful acidity. And we have a wine which is our Cadel Vento, which is quite well known now because it's so unique and special. And it was really one of the first rosé sparkling Lambrusco. And it's a Sorbara blended with Grasparossa and has that beautiful acidity. And in fact, a lot of our Japanese restaurants love it in pairing with sushi because it's very delicate. So it's not overwhelming. And it really is a really, really good way of, pairing in the real essence of the word, right?
Yes, absolutely. Now, tell me about another wine you produce, because you produce a whole range of wines. Tell me about Spergola.
Yes, that no, it's actually it's wonderful for you to ask because it's what we're trying to do. We really obviously Lambrusco is our tradition and is a big part of our work and our business and our history. But it's really important, to not forget and actually rediscover some of the grapes, the indigenous grapes that are available in our terroir. And Spergola is one of those. And the Spergola is, it's almost been forgotten, and sometimes it was also confused with Sauvignon, for example. So it's a grape that also was a little bit neglected and probably was on the brink of being extinct as well. And it's really having a comeback. It's not a big production. We produce it on 5 hectares in a smaller part close by to the estate because it's in a slightly different hill. So it's the only part that is not inside of our estate. And it really has for us a wonderful potential. And we use it both to make sparkling wines, and that's traditionally what people have been using it again. But we also make a still wine out of it. And that was also, for us a really interesting project, bringing back grape varieties that have been neglected, forgotten, that are really very, very historical, and giving them a new identity and also experimenting a little bit to see what the potential could be.
Well, that's fascinating. I have to say, I've never tasted Spergola, so it's a wine I'm eager to discover myself.
It has you'll often see it with a beautiful straw yellow, almost ours, for example, even has like a honey yellow color. It's a beautiful, very, very.
Oh my! From skin contact.
Very beautiful. Yes, it stays on the skin for some time. We try to do that and then I feel like on the palate is very fresh and balanced and does have a very good persistence. So it really lends itself. We'll see what time shows, but we decided to also give a chance to a still wine. And I do think it has an enormous potential.
Now, you mentioned another very important product that comes from grapes, the aceto balsamico tradizionale di Reggio Emilia, less well known perhaps than the traditional balsamic vinegar of Modena, but just as special, just as prestigious, and actually the Acetai di Canossa that you mentioned is. Did you say the oldest in the area?
It's the oldest in Reggio Emilia. It dates back all the way to the 17th century. And it's really a very unique, almost a museum. So it's a very unique place, yeah.
And so this is where you would be making the traditional balsamic vinegar, which I must stress to our listeners is completely different from the supermarket balsamic vinegars that are industrially produced, just as real Lambrusco is very different from industrial Lambrusco. So it's really almost an elixir, a very special product made just from the cooked grape must.
You summarized it perfectly. And I think when you said it's almost like an elixir, I think that is really going back to Matilde di Canossa. They referred to it as a balsamo. So it had this type of, yes, elixir, cure, slightly medicine aspect to it. And it is really a very special product. And so, yes, we produce the traditional balsamic vinegar, which is 100% grape must and aged for many, many years, up to 25 years. And then we produce obviously also, products that continue that spirit, but obviously that are also a little bit more for everyday use. So
Of course, that's important too, to be able to have that more accessible, but still genuine products. Now, Julia, finally, can we turn to hospitality at Venturini Baldini and what you offer both for those who want to come and sample and discover your wines, but also for those who may want to stay or eat, or what do you offer to visitors?
Yeah, we have, that was a big part of our when I said we've made a lot of changes in those years since we took over the estate, and creating a proper luxury hospitality offering was really the biggest, most fundamental part of our plan, because we really felt like there is a terroir that needs to have a space for people to come and live and experience that beautiful Emilia that we see. And so we created a proper little boutique hotel on the hills of our estate, partly formed by the villa and then the outbuildings around the villa. So it's a full immersion in Emilia. It's surrounded by nature. It's really a very beautiful place that allows people to experience Emilia. And, all of our guests have a balsamic vinegar tasting. They see the Acetaia. They often join us for wine tastings as well, cooking classes. They can explore the area. We organize a lot of trips to other producers, to the Motor Valley as well. So we have obviously, the automotive fans who can see Ferrari and Lamborghini or Ducati, Maserati. So there's really a lot on offer in our area. And, we love the fact that we're a small place. We have, 17 rooms that are really, that allow us really to have a very personalized offering for our guests. And sometimes people just want to just hang out at the pool and, go for a hike, enjoy the nature and just chill and enjoy that Apennine mountains that I referred to before.
Yes, absolutely. That to me is wine hospitality at its best, a really wonderful way to enjoy an area and really discover how wine and food really are linked to a territory.
Yes, it's an amazing way of, when we talk about wine experience and that experience, that in an essence, that is really what it is, that people come and live with us and enjoy and discover the things as we do them. And for us, it's an amazing thing because it gives us really that opportunity to also connect with our guests and have an experience together.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I hope that some of our listeners will come to Reggio Emilia and find you in the wine hills of Reggio Emilia to discover and enjoy the hospitality. I would very much like to join you one day myself, so I will have you.
That would be a pleasure. It would be my pleasure to have you over, so definitely.
Well, I'll certainly would love to do that. Julia, thank you so much for being my guest today. It's been really nice talking to you and learning all about your world and the wonderful wines that you produce. So I hope to see you soon. But in the meantime, thank you very much. Grazie.
Thank you so much for having me.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode brought to you by the Wine to Wine Business Forum 2022. This year will mark the 9th edition of the forum, to be held on November 7th and 8th, 2022, in Verona, Italy. Remember, tickets are on sale now, so for more information, please visit us at winetowine.net. Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to italianwinepodcast.com.